Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting, October 3rd, 2023. So before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and stand, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United
of the United
States of America
States of
and
America,
to the republic for which
to the
it
republic
stands,
for which it
one
stands,
nation,
one
under
nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty
with liberty
for all.
and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, may we have the roll call, please?
Yes, you may, sir. Chairman Ernst,
Present?
Vice Chair McDermott. Present. Commissioner Blemire,
Present.
Commissioner Each,
Present.
yes, Commissioner Bob. Present. Commissioner Clark,
I believe he was excused absence.
okay. And I think I see what happened.
Yes.
And
then-
Commissioner Seafried had to be excused for
Yes.
the first portion
Yes.
of this, but he is present in the audience.
That's correct.
Right.
And Commissioner Besson,
Present.
thank you.
Okay,
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Good evening, Ms. Love. How are you this evening? Joining us from...
I'm well, sir.
Good.
Hello, everyone.
Hey,
Hi,
Debbie.
There we are. We get to see you. I'll go ahead and ask if you have any amendments to the agenda.
No, sir. We do have, I do apologize for that. Under communications, in addition to the date, we also have the Parks and Rec Director, Christine Carney, will be joining us to share with you some information and give you an update on the parks.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Next, I'll call for approval of minutes for the meeting of July 13th, 2013. Mr. McDermott moves for approval. Second by Mr. Each. All in favor, say aye.
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 Minutes have been approved. Thank you very much, everyone. And as Debbie just mentioned in the communications, our next meeting will be November 7th, 2023. I don't know what our, Debbie, do you know offhand if we do have more than one or two items for that date?
We will have at least 2 items, most likely.
Okay, very good, thank you. And moving on, do we have continued public hearings of any sort?
No, sir.
The next item we have is the public, or the communications that I had asked for. Give you a little background. At our last meeting, I had asked Ms. Love to reach out to the Parks and Recreations Department to give us an update on some of our parks that are either being restored or that are being built out or redone. And I noticed that it's been a slow situation with some of them getting finished or being worked on. So I think our director, the Parks and Recreation Department director, is here to give us an update on that and to hopefully alleviate any concerns anybody has with how that's going. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
State your name for us.
Christine Carney, Parks and Recreation Director for North Miami.
Thank you, Ms. Carney. Welcome, and thank you so much for coming. I
Anytime.
appreciate it very much, and we don't want to put you on the spot. It's just that there's so many, obvious and visible signs that some of the parks are being done, but maybe not at perhaps the pace that people had expected. So I thought maybe you were able to shed a little light on how that progress is going.
So I'll talk about the parks that are under construction currently and then our future projects. So as you guys have probably seen, that Bree Swept Park located on 125th and 2nd Avenue, that one is currently shut down. That's the only, well, I'd take that back. There's 2 playgrounds shut down completely. That one is shut down currently. It has been, the equipment has been removed, and we are in the process of putting out to bid for the equipment to be replaced. Along with that is not just the playground equipment, but a spray ground splash pad, if you want to call it that, but it's a spray ground feature. The basketball court and the pavilion will be replaced in that location. That the timeline right now is for the bid to go out would be about 3 months. Once that goes out, it will then be awarded, and then the construction would take place.
So
for that.
we're looking at a 90-day time frame
Just for the bid, yes,
just for the bid.
yes.
And what's the usual timeline once the bid gets out?
Right now, with the way that equipment is for playground equipment, it's about a 20-week lead time for, I want to say, build and delivery, because of just the way things have been going on with any kind of construction, and equipment isn't being produced as quickly as it has in years past.
Is restoration and replacement of any of the foliage that was removed,
Yes,
particularly that large, very old tree that was in the back there, that provided playground shading
yep,
for kids, that'll be replaced?
yes, sir.
And dealt with,
And more,
and more?
yes, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
The other location that the playground or tot lot is not open is Kiwanis Park, which is also connected to the Clyde Judson Center on the west side of the city, around 13th Avenue and 121. It's one of the circles. You'll see that that one is it's not under construction, I take it back. It is closed only because there's some issues with the foundation that we are addressing. There is no funds allocated for that just yet, but it's gonna be coming down the pipeline.
Was it budgeted for the next fiscal year?
No, it was not, because it just happened.
Okay. So there could be a delay
There could be, yes,
in getting that done.
yes.
Okay, and then, of course, the big park over on 135th Street, Cagney
yes.
redo.
So, those are now the construction, the ones that are, funded and I don't wanna say they're under construction, but in the process. So there's Cagney Park North, which is off of 135th and 9th Avenue. That one is done with the plans. The architect has submitted their plans. It has been, the design has been created. It is going out to bid. That's gonna be the same process, a 3-month process, and then that is being done in phases. So right now, phase 1 is the, multipurpose field, and the walkway, if you want to call it, more of a passive area, and a playground. There are some other phases involved in there as well. There's going to be a pool. There will also be a splash pad. When I say splash pad, just don't quote me on that, because it's a spray ground, but a lot of people understand what splash pad is. And then, more pathways, more pavilions, and opportunities for people to just enjoy the park in the area.
So there's no plans for a softball field, soccer fields,
The
youth
multipurpose,
football, multipurpose type of a athletic field of any kind?
yes, the multipurpose field is part of phase 1, and that is, it would be a multipurpose field, soccer, football, lacrosse, that type of thing.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Now, one of the other things I would hope to encourage would be that through whatever bi-monthly little news releases or whatever, to keep the residents up to date as to
Yep.
what is being done.
Yeah, we also do have, on our website, there is a CP&D portion of the website, and that has all the list of all the projects and their state that they're in right now, with an expected timeline and expected completion date, that is updated routinely, not just from our department, but I can put a link there as well, and we can share it on a paper form.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I haven't seen much, and that's one of the reasons why I guess I've asked you to come forward and give us an update. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Carney? Any comment? Okay, well, thank you so
Well,
much for
Thank
coming. I
you for
really
your time.
appreciate it.
No problem, and you always
Mhm.
know where to reach us. But, we'll be more than happy to give you guys updates on a routine basis.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, well, at this point, we're going to go ahead and open up we'll start with the first item is PC 17-77. This is a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, approving the award of fiscal year 2023 through 2024 Community Development Block Grant, that are known as the CDBG funds, to not-for-profit community-based organizations as required by C4 or by 24 CFR 570.201 parentheses E, providing for an effective date and all other purposes. May we have a staff report, please, Ms. Love?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joining us this evening is Alva de Bazil. She is the Housing and Social Services Division Manager. She's here to answer any questions and lead this particular section of your agenda.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. Albert Bazil, Housing and Social Services Director. Tonight, I'm here to present the award of the fiscal year 2023-2024 CDBG funds to not-for-profit community-based organization. If you remember, back in May, I was here presenting the annual action plan for this fiscal year. And there is a requirement, there is a set aside of 15% of the total allocation that is geared toward the community-based organization. For that, we open an application during the month of July, where not-for-profit organization has the opportunity to apply to present the application for this grant. We did have a housing workshop where we explained to them how to apply for the program, explained the program to them. 15 organizations attended this workshop, but at the end, 7 organizations applied for the grant. A total of $118,000 was set aside for this year. Out of this, $90,000 is set aside for the CBO, and the $28,000 is left for the CD Summers Internship Program, which goes through the Youth Opportunity Board. Tonight, we have, out of the 7 applicants who put in their applications, 5 of them are returning organizations serving in multiple areas. Some of them are working in housing counseling. Some of them are providing basic health care. We have some newbies this year. I think there will be more up to talk about their program. This is a brand new one to us. This is science, equine, and agriculture. We have empowerment community, we have tutoring, we have home meal delivery for the seniors. We only have 2 new organizations this year. The other 5 are returning organizations. So they are here. The invitation was sent out to all organizations to attend, just in case the board have questions for them. I think they are the best I can tell about their programs. With that being said, this concludes my presentation, and I'm open for any questions.
Thank you very much. I just have a quick question. We received 2 ratings. So can you explain that real quick? Just in case anybody doesn't understand the fact that you showed us the ranking and what scores they got, and then you had one in the order of
Actually, this is how the system generates the report, but I think we should go with the second one, classification in order of scoring. That's the second part. For instance, you're looking at the North Miami Foundation for Senior Citizens has the higher score. followed by the expert, extended hand, Warsaw education. The first one is a system generated, like it gave it to us on the basis of how the application was submitted. The one who submitted first, second, third. But the white scoring is the second part, the classification in order of scoring.
Okay. Now, are these the same amount of members that were on the committee to look at the at each one of the organizations? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 initials there. Are those the names of the
The advisory board
advisory
panel.
board panel?
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
is that the normal amount, 5?
5,
Okay, it's
Yeah.
always been 5.
yeah.
No additions or subtractions? Okay, I just wanted to make that clear, because I couldn't remember from the past years how many were involved in the selection process.
We've been doing it with 5 for the
5.
past 2 to 3
Okay.
years.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, at that point, how we're going to do this, this is, we want to try to expedite and give everybody same amount of time to make their presentation, and I trust that all the organizations have presenters here, according to the director. So we will hear each one of the presentations. I will give their amount of funding that they've asked for, and then what the panel recommended. So the numbers may be different, but just for public record, I will announce how much, or I will give the amount that was requested by the organization, and then the amount that the panel came up with. We'll hear from each one, and then at the end of all the presentations, I'll open up a public hearing to let anyone that wants to speak for or against any of the organizations has that opportunity. I'll then close the public hearing, and then we'll open up discussion among the Planning Commission. All right, so I'm going to begin with the very first one on the list, and that will be the, let me check this off here, make sure that I don't lose track. So I think I did last year because we had a lot more. So the first one up will be North Miami Foundation for Senior Citizens. This is, they're asking for funding for a home delivery meal service. The grant request from the organization was $40,000. The CBO advisory panel is recommending $24,000. We have a representative. Good evening, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Good
And
evening.
I'll allow you 3 minutes for your presentation.
Good evening. My name is Alex Guillén, Deputy Executive Director of North Miami Foundation. The mission of our North Miami Foundation is to maximize the opportunities for the elderly of Northeast Miami-Dade County to maintain their personal independence and to strengthen their quality of life by providing several social services. To achieve this mission, caring and consistent services provided by the staff and volunteers of the foundation. There is a commitment to excellence on the part of the staff, volunteers, and the board of directors, and the ongoing involvement of various community groups and individuals, including governmental and service organizations. For last year and for many years, our service that we provide include home screening and assessment, counseling, transportation to and from the grocery store, home delivery meals, consumable medical supplies, volunteer and homemaker services. Last year we served approximately 600 clients, around 2,800 emergency food meals, more than 1,100 home delivery meals, approximately like 100 or more hours of nutritional counseling, and more than 300 episodes of nutritional education, and provided more than 4,000 trips of transportation, and also lodged over 524 volunteer telephone reassurance calls. Having said this, our services is for people older than 60 that the income or the physical condition, but the income has to be the main thing and living within our service area. So far, our foundation has doing great job with our seniors.
All right, sir, thank you. Anyone have any questions they want to ask the director before? Ms. Blumer, Chair recognizes Ms. Blumer.
Good evening, how are you? So thank you so very much for the work that you're doing with North Miami Foundation for Senior Citizens. I see that it states that you are specifically getting the 24,000 for 25 home delivery meals that would service these 25 elderly individuals with 2 meals per day. Is that correct?
Yes, 2 meals per day because that includes the breakfast. Is breakfast and lunch.
Okay, so I'm just trying to get a gauge of the current population versus those that you will be able to service. So what is the current population of seniors?
Well, the current population of the North Miami Foundation, we have more than 600 clients. But with these funds, the CDBG is only residents of North Miami City that has to be in compliance with the program, the income, age. In fact, last year we received referrals from the city. At some point, there were several seniors receiving meals from the city, but the funds were exhausted, and we take all of them, and they are still with us.
So just to clarify, the city will furnish you with referrals for 25 elderly persons?
No, that happened last year. If the city refers seniors, we are more than happy to receive them. But there is no need. We have, volunteers and advertisement, and people call us all the time. If we don't have phone at that time, we keep them in waiting list, and then we call back when we have the funds, and we start providing the service for them.
Well, you based your calculations on 18,200 meals, correct? Or 18,200 home delivered meals, according to what I'm seeing here.
Yes, but this is the foundation as a whole, including not only the city of North Miami, but the other areas that we serve.
Okay.
So for the city of North Miami, there will be 25 elderly persons who will receive 2 meals per day.
Yes, and other services like home screening and assessment, transportation for shopping, not only meals, it's several social services.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Any other questions? Very good, thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Mr. Besson.
Tell me about the transportation for the elderly. How is it provided? And in what manner do they call or request that?
When we do the screening and assessment, we ask them and we see if they need or not. We offer the service. If they agree, usually the seniors don't drive, or even if they do, they avoid to do it because the traffic and everything. So we have a bus that, depending of the area, every day is a different area. When the client calls saying that he or she wants to go shopping, we put a list and put down in the list. The driver will know that he has to go to pick up them at home. And then that day, he pick up all the residents of that area that show the interest to go shopping that day, take them to the grocery store. They spend there like an hour and a half, and they take them back to home. And usually the driver help them with carry the bags and depending of the physical situation and help them with that. We also have in our bus a position for a wheelchair, so if a senior have reduced mobility, can go with the wheelchair and we can take him or she to the grocery store as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Besson. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Okay, next up. Next up is the MID Wellness and Community Center, Inc. We have a representative with us for that.
No, Mr. Chair, Mrs. Florimont informed us that he is currently enrolled in a program. It seems like he couldn't have a waiver from the dean to attend this meeting, so she asked that her absence be excused.
Okay, for the record, MID Wellness Community Center, was that Emmanuel Florimont? Okay, and they were requesting $40,000 and the CPO advisory panel recommended $15,000. All right, moving on to our third organization is Haynes Harbor Group, Inc. Haynes Harbor Group, Inc. The representative there, good evening. Haynes Harbor Group, Inc. is a low to moderate income resource, asking for funds for a low to moderate under-resourced youth. It's called Science, Equine, and Agriculture. They are located in Aventura, but they're asking, they obviously have a program here for North Miami. Good evening. State your name and address for the record. And before you start, the organization is asking for $15,000 in grant. CBO advisory panel is recommending $5,000. Good evening again. I'm sorry.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Haynes.
Good evening. My name is Melissa McGoey.
Good evening.
The address of the location is 1725 Northeast 135th Street. It's located in the Enchanted Forest Elaine Gordon Park. Excuse me. So our program description. So the program scope, C, which stands for Science, Equine, and Agricultural, is an experiential education and therapeutic exploration. It is a pilot program designed to address and access barriers, affordability, mental health challenges, and at-risk behaviors of underserved resource urban youth through environmental constructive activities centered on horsemanship, science, equine sports, agriculture, and education. This initiative includes science, equine, and agriculture education, and the activities are to promote academic, physical, mental health, and emotional growth in persons with a myriad of afflictions from anxiety and depression to dementia, post-traumatic stress disorder, complex trauma, sexual victimization, and risky behaviors. Our target populations are at-risk youth, 10 middle school, 10 high schoolers. They will engage in this instructional experiential C program. This program will rotate every academic semester beginning January 2024 through September 2024. The location, as I stated before, will be at the Enchanted Forest Elaine Gordon Park. The participants will engage 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. Selected participants will be rotated on a semester schedule, 9 weeks, 3 academic semesters totaling 27 weeks, and a total of 60 students. And during the summers, it will be 5 weeks with a total of 20 students, totaling 32 weeks, servicing 80 students. Our program schedules will reflect Miami-Dade County Public Schools academic calendar, including the fall and winter, spring, and summer breaks. Participants will be recruited citywide. However, the only 2 schools within a 10-mile radius of the park are North Miami Middle School and North Miami High School. Hence, Interested participants will complete an intake packet with a section for the parents and the students' information. In addition, HUD income verification guidelines and a list of eligible supporting documentations will be requested once applicant has been accepted into the program. Lastly, all parents and participants will be required to sign a medical and liability waiver. Our program goals. The program is designed to provide equitable access, promote discipline, increase self-esteem, self-awareness, increase motivation, build social development, teach life skills, increase academic achievement, and introduce our participants to a C experience. Our program is designed to assist youth by developing healthy relationships and a strong character, environmental ethics, as well as overcoming fears by building teamwork and much more. Our participants' responses to the horses and the farm animals can also provide excellent insight into the participants' opinions to themselves and others, especially authority figures. Hence, our ultimate goal is to leverage the positive impact for the youth and families served by offering higher quality services.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hit it right on the 3-minute mark. Very good, thank you. Do we have any questions from anyone on the commission? Yes, Dr. Besson, you have the floor, sir.
I seem to be full of questions tonight. How many, we'll call them students or applicants, did you accept last year?
Well, this is our first,
Oh, this is your first year?
yes,
Okay. So you expect to have how many total?
10 middle, 10 high schoolers.
How many people have people applied yet for this program? Or is this based on the grant, the block grant that we're giving?
It's based on the grant, so we haven't put out any type of application as of yet.
Are you gonna accept, if there's 20, 10 from middle school, 10 from high school, unless there isn't enough high school kids and then you go to middle school?
Yeah, we would do that.
Okay.
Right,
And-
It's our first program, so we're trying to keep it at 20, make sure that it's, achieving what we want it to achieve, and then eventually grow it from there. But
Mhm.
we've kind of put the budget down for that amount that we're working
Okay.
with at first.
Say
Now,
you,
does the schools contact you? How does the
So, we-
selection process for the program?
so we will go and introduce the program to the school counselors, and then they can advertise it, and then the families that are interested, there is a contact form on our website for them to actually complete.
Okay. If the schools know about it, are they in a position, or is it, I don't know if it's even permitted with the school board, will they be allowed to recommend the program, or?
No, they wouldn't be able to recommend the program.
Okay, all right. It has to be voluntary.
Volunteer, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ah.
My apologies, Naomi, go ahead.
Good evening. Dr. Chantel,
Yes,
are you the founder?
yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what made you decide to put such a program together?
Yes, definitely. So I am an educator with Miami-Dade County Public Schools, servicing our Exceptional Students Education Department and our SPED, working specifically with individuals with intellectual and/or physical disabilities. Also, I have my mental health background as well as my doctorate in health science. And post my master's program, I experienced complex traumas, and I was able to actually use equine therapy as a form of healing. And so I had an opportunity to go to the farm and meet Melissa, and kind of, share what I wanted to do for the underserved youth. And right now, I'm currently working with individuals that are in the foster care system. And so it definitely gave me an outlook of wanting to build a program to be able to give them access to participate in such a program as this.
Excellent, excellent. As I was reading it, what really stood out to me was the agricultural aspect of it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
And that's where I would come in. I met Dr. Haynes. She came to the farm that I operate inside the Enchanted Forest Park, Equestrian Farm. I operate the stables there. And I've always wanted to do something for the at-risk kids, for the youth in the community who maybe, don't get to experience the farm and have that. And she came, and it really just, we kind of wanted the same thing, and she was able to head the project and put it all together. So this is just something that I wanted to do, and I bring that to the table teaching them agricultural, teaching them how to work with their hands, teaching them about nature. And then she has more of the, doctor side and more technical side of it, and I bring the farm and the education. So together, it's just, we both get to really accomplish what we want to accomplish.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Okay, next up will be the Global Initiative Foundation, Inc. This is Marie Odell Valley. She is here. This organization is asking to fund a program called Healthy Minds, Safer Communities, and Empowerment. This is their project that they're asking funds for. It's targeting the lower middle income general public, if I'm not mistaken. The grant request is $15,000. The CPO advisory panel is recommending $5,000. Good evening, how are you?
Good evening. How are you guys?
I'm fine, how are you?
Thank you. I actually want to introduce myself. My name is Jacqueline Exius. I'm not the director of grant, Marie Odell, and I apologize she's not here today, nor is our founder, Dr. Marie Etienne. She does send her wishes and wish she could be here. So I am the director of education for Global Innovative Foundation, and I want to present to you the proposal that we put forward today, if that's okay with you guys, in absence of them.
Go right ahead.
So I want to tell you, and thank you for putting on purple today, Council Kenny Each. As you know, October is really important for the community and all of North Miami residents. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and as it is Breast Cancer Month, thank you for wearing pink as well. I want to tell you about our proposal and Global Innovative Foundation. We are an active organization, non-for-profit, here in the city of North Miami, and we're helping, as an organization, a nonprofit, to provide wraparound services, linking community care to victims of gun violence, domestic violence, and human trafficking. Our goal is to eliminate through education and advocacy. And the initiative that we created for this program is really to link that, as we mentioned. There are a lot of students, moms, residents, and citizens within the community that don't have the proper health care, access to the health care, and we developed this program, which we've been active in the community last year as well, to link those services. So I want to tell you a little bit about it. As mentioned, Global Innovative Foundation was founded in 2019 by a diverse group of professionals engaged to create global awareness for the prevention of crimes. We have educated victims and survivors alike through education, service, and scholarships. I want to go through some numbers with you. So Healthy Minds, Safer Communities, and Empowerment Project will continue to serve as, we call it GIF, have been doing, through live webinars, through referral services, which is the wraparound services. We also have an empowerment counseling service that we offer. We have a human trafficking summit, a gun violence summit, and we also have a luncheon. So we offer many services, and we plan to do this by having those who are qualified to come in to register and then to offer and link them to mental health services. So I'm open for questions, and I can go
Good.
more, but I don't want to go over the 3 minutes.
Quite all right. Thank you. Your assistant is very well behaved and very attentive.
Jason.
Jason, hi
Yeah,
Jason.
He's come to the outreach and help us set up.
Okay, do we have any questions from any of the commissioners?
Uh,
None?
just,
Oh,
um,
Okay, Ms. Butler. I'm
Just a
sorry.
quick question. So I see that with the 5,000, you're going to serve about 100 people. So I just wanted to understand those specific 100 people, specifically, what would they be getting?
Okay, thank you. That's actually a really good point that you brought out. And our original request was for 15,000. So we requested 15,000. With that 15,000, we'll be able to serve 100. I know many other organizations, and it was brought up, why such a high number? Because we do a lot. We go out we do outreach services, we're doing webinars, we're educating, we're doing outreach and advocacy.
Okay, so just to clarify, if you had gotten the 15,000, you would have been able to serve 100 plus.
Yes.
Thank you.
What do you expect the amount that CPO, the advisory panel recommended?
With the recommendation of 5,000, we will still do our best not to turn down anyone, but I've been seeing that the medium average of recipients has been around 20 to 25. We hope to continue to stick in that range.
Thank you very much. No other questions? Right. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you again.
Right, next organization up is the Russell Education Foundation. The Russell Education Foundation is the Russell Reading Foundation.
Russell Reading, yeah.
Yes, Russell Reading Program. They conducted at the Griffin Park Community Center. It's targeting lower middle income or lower and moderate income kids, if I'm not mistaken. The organization has asked for a amount of $14,500. The CPO advisory panel is recommending $15,000. So I welcome you, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mackie Firestein, the Executive Director of the Russell Education Foundation. Our address is 499 Northwest 106th Ave, Suite 106 in Plantation, Florida. And I have my colleague.
Pauline Doyle, Director of Programs.
Good evening.
Good evening. Since 1998, our mission has been inspiring and equipping underserved children and their families with the tools for continued success. Statistics show that children who are not reading at grade level by the end of the third grade are 83% less likely to graduate from high school. The social and emotional difficulties due to the COVID-19 pandemic are still enormous and impacting our kids even today. And to think that a child's future could be written for them by the end of third grade is an appalling statistic. The Russell Education Foundation is working hard to change that fact. REF services are offered free of charge to kindergarten through fifth grade students and families who attend the program at Griffin Park. Many students that enter the REF program are barely reading at the reading level. REF teachers are able to identify specific learning issues through pre-testing using the DIBELS and the San Diego testing model, enabling them to develop individual action plans to address their specialized needs and maximize opportunities for success. One-on-one tutoring, instruction, homework assistance, and mentoring helps improve not only their reading, but math, science, and language skills. And again, our location is at Griffin Park. Our goal at the completion of the program year is that these students are reading at grade level based on the DIBELS and the San Diego post-test score, parents' input, and teachers' report. We have been a proud partner in North Miami Beach since 2004, only interrupted by COVID during the years of 2020 to 23. We are looking forward to once again to continue our goal to help address reading proficiency for elementary school students who have been identified at-risk literacy skills. Thanks to the City of North Miami for your continued support and partnership. It is only by understanding the value of working together that we will achieve the objectives of helping young North Miami students fulfill their dreams of a good education. Together, we must continue opening doors to open doors. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm quite familiar with the founder, Mr. Twan Russell. I remember I don't know if he's here tonight. He came to us in previous years, and I know the program has grown tremendously. He also has programs in Broward, I guess, and throughout South Florida.
Yeah, we currently have 4 centers in Hollywood, 4 in Pompano, And you mentioned Twan Russell is a local icon. Grew up here, went to University of Miami, played in the NFL for several years with the Miami Dolphins and Atlanta Falcons, and unfortunately couldn't be here tonight because he's now the athletic director of St. Thomas Aquinas.
Oh, great. Congratulations to him. Any questions from anybody on the commission?
So
Ms.
you-
Lemur, you have the floor.
So you mentioned that you have a partnership with North Miami Beach, correct?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned in your presentation that you have a partnership with North Miami Beach?
No, no. We currently work with Hollywood and Pompano
Okay.
Beach. Yeah,
So this will not be your first program here in North Miami?
correct,
You've had it before?
correct,
And you've only served 25 students?
correct. It's out of one location.
So how are you choosing these 25 students?
So the unique part about our program is that we work with the city to bring them in. We don't actually proactively go out there. We collaborate with the city, and the students find our centers.
Okay, and are you looking to actually have conversations with the principals as well to identify kids who actually really need the program?
Yeah, so the way that it currently works in our other cities is that the cities, out of their park and rec centers, we really focus on the elementary schools that are close to the centers and all. So we don't actually go into the schools, different than some of the other after-school programs. Again, ours is complimentary, which is funded through the funds as well as any fundraising we do on our end and all. So we don't actually go into the schools, no.
Okay, so currently the students that you have right now, or the students that you had last year, how did they come to you? The city provided you with names and then you had a selection process? How does that work?
No. No, the kids are already there. They come to the program, to the center after school. And then they come there from about 2 o'clock, and then we come in from 4 to 6 p.m. and do the educational part of it.
Okay, so there is an established program happening at the center. You are bringing in a service to the established program.
Exactly.
So you're not the one bringing the program.
We're not the one bringing the kids.
Or
We-
meaning there is an after-school program already happening.
Yes.
So you're coming to supplement the service that they are already providing.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, thank you very much, sir, for coming in your presentation.
Thank you.
We will move on to the sixth organization here with us tonight, and that is the North Miami Foundation for Senior Citizen Services. North Miami Senior Citizens Foundation, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we already did this. I don't know how we got out of order here. Yeah, I know, I see what I did. My apologies. So the next is the Extended Hands, Inc. will be next up. Extended Hands, Inc. is the Public Health Literacy Service. They are targeting the low to moderate income households in the city of North Miami. They have asked for a grant request of $10,000. CPO Advisory Panel is recommending $13,000. Extended Hands, Inc., do you have a representative here?
Mr. Chair,
Madam Director?
Mrs. Sellers calls last minute, couldn't make it, not too sure what the issue is, but I received a call 5 minutes before getting into the room. She couldn't attend, so she excused her absence.
All right. We'll just go ahead and move on to the last one then on our list, and that will be the Expert Resource Community Center, Inc. This is a housing, counseling, and financial services. It is directed toward low to moderate income households. Good evening, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Danny Felton, 600 Northwest 183rd Street, Miami Gardens, Florida.
Welcome, Mr. Felton. Your grant request amount is $15,000. CPO Advisory Panel is recommending $13,000. You may begin, sir.
Yes. The Experts Resource Community Center is an independent branch affiliate of NID Housing Counseling Agency, a HUD-approved organization created in 1995. NID Housing Counseling Agency is the largest minority, non-for-profit HUD-approved housing counseling intermediary agency in the nation, with 52 branches in 22 states. ERCC has demonstrated capacity and capabilities in pre-purchase, down payment assistance, post-purchase, foreclosure prevention, and loss mitigation counseling. ERCC is a proud adopter of the National Industry Standards for Housing Counseling and Education and Foreclosure Specialties. ERCC was established in 2004 as a 501c3 housing counseling agency. For the past, I would say the past 8 to 10 years, we've been assisting the residents of the city of North Miami. We provide pre-purchase counseling 3 times a month. We do it in English and in Creole. We offer our classes at the North Miami Library on the 4th Saturday. We offer our classes also at the Arcola Lakes, I guess. It's on 82nd, the library on 7th Avenue and Northwest 82nd Street. And also we offer classes at the Oasis at Miami Gardens, which we've been able to assist over 75 households here in the city of North Miami. What's interesting is over the last 2 years or so with the COVID pandemic, we've sort of had to pivot our services to also address rental counseling, because we're at a state of emergency where homeownership, affordable homeownership, is a problem. And so being able to educate individuals that are potentially about to lose the biggest investment of their lives and help them to provide foreclosure prevention services. We worked with the Department of Economic Opportunity to provide assistance for those individuals, as well as rental assistance counseling. And so we're glad to be here today asking for your assistance as we continue to help individuals to create wealth through home ownership. We've also participated in the 8-hour homebuyer HUD approval classes, which individuals need when they're going to be getting down payment assistance. And so that's one of the requirements. We provide that class, as well as the one-on-one. Each of our clients, they actually not only just go through a group session, but they're provided a one-on-one counseling session to address their needs, their specific needs, and where they are at the point of application.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions from the commission? Floor is now open to questions from anyone on the panel. Okay, very well. Thank you, sir, for your presentation.
Thank you.
And we will go ahead and open up a public hearing. Public hearing is now open. If there's anyone in the public who wanted to address any of the organizations that are here tonight, and any specific points they want to bring out. Good evening, sir. State your name and address for the record.
I'm Dr. Medina, 1270 Northeast 124th, North Miami, Florida, 33161. So I take exception to the lab presenters because he doesn't provide services to the Spanish community. And I just, since none of you asked, I'm here to let you know that what is, if you're going to provide services, you have to provide to all the residents of the city.
Thank you, Mr. Medina. Anyone else wishing to address it? Yes, sir. Oh. Are you, did you want to make a point to that? Yes, go ahead. Certainly.
Since the inception of our program, we've offered our courses in English, Spanish, and Creole. Unfortunately, during the COVID, we lost our Spanish-speaking counselor as a result of, and since that time, we haven't been able to get a National Industry Standards counselor so we can move forward with the program. But our intent is to bring back the Spanish speaking class.
So you're saying the pandemic, was he cut back, or was it a situation where you just lost some?
Well, the counselor, the HUD, because right now you have to be HUD certified to provide the class. And so our HUD certified counselor, she passed away.
All right. So, but in the meantime, you are making an effort to find somebody, a Spanish-speaking person, to direct that.
Yes, sir.
My condolences for
May-
that loss.
I have a quick question, sir. So to Dr. Medina's point, if someone comes in and they are a Spanish-speaking individual, while you do not currently have the director who is with your staff, what would you do with them?
Well, what's interesting is that in our home bar classes, in most of the classes we have individuals that don't speak English that come to our classes that are Creole speaking, for example, and they bring a translator with them. We also offer that same services, and individuals come and they bring a translator with them to actually interpret the services. So we do provide services, but our presenters are not presenting in Spanish, but they have a most of them bring a translator with them.
So we would say definitely for the city of North Miami, we do, as you already know, have a large Haitian American population and a growing Hispanic population. So if that's something that you can incorporate from day one, as opposed to allowing, leave it up on the individual to say, okay, I'm gonna bring a translator with me, since you are getting $13,000 from the city, I think that since that is a concern, from day one, if you can work on that and ensure that that is happening, that you present the translator for them, I think that would be great.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
You're welcome.
May I ask one question, please? How many clients do you deal with in North Miami in a year?
Last year, we serviced over 100 households.
North Miami residents?
North Miami residents, yes. We service over 900 and some clients a year, but we've serviced over, this year we did, 75 clients this past year.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
But we service over that, but, to really be able to provide the necessary documentation, it normally works out in terms of 75 households.
May I ask you, you mentioned you had to be HUD certified.
Mhm.
So, let's say a Hispanic person came in, couldn't you not have a translator and then that person translate to the HUD certified?
Yeah, we actually have access to translators in our facility, in the building. So matter of fact, today we had a call for someone that needed ADA, that needed speech impediment. So we have a relationship where we have a translator service that we could actually assist that client should they need additional languages.
So do we do that for the Hispanic people that come in?
All languages, yes.
Okay, so we do that for anybody. So hypothetically, if somebody speaks only German, they come in and they're gonna lose their home, you
There's
could
a
get
service
translator.
that we have a contract with that will be able to provide
Okay.
service for that individual.
All right.
Thank you for that explanation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Any other comments from the public on any of the other organizations that spoke before us tonight? Seeing none, hearing none. I'm sorry. Yes. Certainly.
The representative for the North Miami Foundation for Senior Services.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask him something, if you don't mind. So real quick, so you identify the population, like the group that you're going to assist with the meals, right? So during the course of the year, if, one of the members should move or no longer require the services, does their slot remain empty, or do you locate, another member and then replace them?
We replace that member that is leaving immediately.
Okay. All
We always have people calling, and also between the different of the meals that we provide, one is frozen, the other is hot. In the case of CDBG, it's hot meals. So sometimes we have residents that rather prefer hot meals, but we don't have the funds. So we start them on frozen. When there is an availability, we move them for if they qualify, of course, with the income and everything. But yes, there is not open slot.
Okay.
It's always full.
Would you say you have a waiting list?
Usually, yes. Usually, yes. Mhm.
right. Thank you.
May I ask you, just for a point of information, the North Miami Foundation for the Elderly, that's been in existence, 40 years, 50 years?
Since 1974.
74.
74.
50
Thank you.
years.
Thank you. I was just wondering, I remember Jenny Solzberg and, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, any other members of the audience that would like to talk? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. We're open for discussion, the panel. Okay, the motion, now the way I would encourage everyone to, we would vote on the entire package of all the presenters here to go ahead and move this forward to the city council for their approval, and any other issues they may have, they will address, which is normally the case. So what we're doing is we're passing along the staff's recommendation to the city council for them to make the final vote and the final decision. And okay, so Mr. McDermott has made a motion to approve the recommendation of all the petitioners move forward to the city council. Do I have a second? Mr. Besson, I have a motion, so,
Why don't we have a second and then a discussion?
okay, I'll get
If there's a
second.
second.
I second it.
Okay, the second on the motion by Mr. H. And now, Mr. Besson, recognize you for discussion.
Question, if somebody doesn't come to this meeting, what do we do with this? Because they didn't get here, there may be some extenuating circumstances, but now they're being just moved through the recommendation, and we didn't have the opportunity to listen to them.
Correct. Well, they will have a chance to make their presentation before the city council.
Okay.
So we're going by what the advisory panel has given us the information. And so I think we're going on the merit of that panel in order for us to determine that we can go ahead and present this to the city council, and then they will have a chance to speak before the city council. And then the city council does make the final determination or adjustment to the funding.
Okay.
All right?
You know, the panel itself is pretty probative, and they come up with the recommendations.
Right.
But you do have a good point. If they didn't show up here, do we know that? Did we make a notation of that and let that go to the city council?
Well, I could ask the staff if that can be a part of us moving forward. Ms. Love, if I could bring you in on this?
Mr. Chairman, if I can have.
Yes.
Oh, no, it's Naomi.
Yeah, I've got a question to Ms. Love. Ms. Love, did you hear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, did you hear my question as to whether or not we can make a recommendation with approval that we note the two organizations did not have representatives at the meeting tonight?
I see no reason why you could not.
right.
I would defer to Mr. Held and Ms. Warren.
Jennifer? Mr.
There is no hardline requirement for them to actually be here to have a presentation in order to pass this along to mayor and council. You know, really, the onus is on them if they want to come in voluntarily and provide that information. Obviously, there was a couple of them that had extenuating circumstances, but they did ask to be excused.
Okay.
You know,
And that was given to them, all right. I just want to make that, so I don't think we need to make that point, do you, Chief?
we can
Let's say
note,
we're
if you would
given
like,
an
we could
excuse.
note it in the
I
staff
think we
report
should
to mayor and council.
kick it up to the council. I mean, a person didn't show up over here. I think that at least they're getting the grant from the city. They should have.
Okay,
I agree with Dr. Benson. Okay, something might have happened on this one, but,
right.
you know, if they don't get to the city council, I think that should be noted, that they didn't show up here, and
Right.
let the city
So,
council
let me repeat
decide.
myself, I don't think everyone heard. What we can do is in the staff report to mayor and council, we can make a notation
Okay.
letting them know which organizations were not here in attendance to provide a presentation.
Yes, please.
If
I
that's
think that's,
something that the
absolutely
commission would
appropriate.
like us to
Okay.
do.
Okay, we will then go ahead and proceed with the motion and the second, and call for a vote then to pass along to the city council. We've already have one, go ahead. We have a second
So
on the
I just,
floor.
I just want to be clear. Last year, we had this conversation, and it went on for quite some time because there were several leaders that represent these organizations that were not present. So, what is it going to be going forward? I understand the attorney states that it's not mandatory. So, is it that we want them to go through both parts of the process and to be here before the planning commission, or is it going to be if they choose? Let's make it clear. Because last year we stated that they should be present unless there are extenuating circumstances. That's what we said last year. So what is it going to be going forward?
Well, that'll
Bring up
be,
a good point. What,
I will
If it
defer
be-
to the Housing and Social Services Director as to how this was advertised, as to whether or not that these applicants were told that they were at risk of losing
good
their
point.
funding
we brought it up
if they were
last
not to appear tonight.
all right. But that was not done for this particular meeting, correct? So
It was done, sir.
Well, then-
Actually,
then I think it should be,
no.
as some of our members are asking, that it is included in the advertisement, that
Yeah, there's
that
something that we need to
organizations must have a representative speak before us
yeah.
in order for us to determine.
The first thing we
any
need
action.
to establish that the CDBG award is not a competitive bid process. So we go on the merit of the application. The application is extensive. That's why we have the advisory panel reviewed it. Actually, we make it a must. Not only we send you the printed package, the e-package, and we also send you the electronic file, so where you can go and see the content of the application. However, as mentioned by Mrs. Blamier and also by council members in prior years, I don't think you guys can go through 17 pages. They are the best advocate of their project, and we make it a mandatory that they should attend. The
Yes.
same way, if you don't attend the workshop, you cannot apply for the grant.
Right.
Even if you apply, you're gonna be disqualified because there is a lot of information provided during the workshop. It's mandatory also that you attend the planning commission and then the council meeting. So if they are excused, they have valid reason for that, we can take that into consideration. And as mentioned by Attorney Warren, we can put a note in the council report that is going to the council people to let them know that those two organizations were not in attendance, but it's mandatory. And everybody receive an email, an invitation, the same way I forwarded you the package. On the same day, they receive their invitation. Some of them who are new, I think I have both of them here. They are giving the courtesy of a call from our staff to explain the need, why they should be present to present their program for the year. It's a mandatory. So.
May I ask you a question? Did the two groups that did not show up, did they explain to you why they could not be here today?
Miss Florimont got an issue. She's attending a program. It's an intensive program. I've been talking to her. It seems like this is an intensive program. She goes to school at night, and she couldn't have an excuse from the dean. She tried. As I've been talking with her for a minute, and I think the class ends next week. I'm not sure if she's gonna be able to attend the council meeting because this package is going to council next Tuesday. As for Mrs. Sellers, I'm not sure what's the reasons. Is the reasons is valid or not? Because I got the call 15 minutes before coming here. And actually, I did initiate the call because I was talking to her about something else regarding an upcoming monitoring for this grant program. But I can vow for MJD, but I'm not too sure about extended hands.
Well, going forward, the word, and you put the word out there, mandatory.
Yeah, it
And I
is.
think that has to be followed through, and especially for next year. I don't think it was clear this year because obviously I was hearing, our attorney has stated something different as far as letting them be excused from participating in this meeting. But if something is down in writing or during their application process, that it's noted that it's mandatory, or that someone else other than that person who cannot make it be present, because there's a lot of dollars online that that somebody else might have been able to use, and that puts the advisory panel in a bad light also, because they thought that the program was merited. And they have to, it's all a part of the approval process, and that they should be here to stand up for that program, or at least have a representative. One there was an organization who did have someone come in and represent them.
As they should, because,
So, that's gotta be, I think that's gotta be written in stone from here on out for the next time we go through this. I would encourage us to kind of let it slide this time and go ahead and push this to the city council. But there's gotta be language put in that they can see in writing that it's gotta be mandatory from now on, that presenters are there for the program. Even if it isn't that one person, they must find somebody to stand in for them to
Well,
make the
You
presentation.
bring up a good point. If they can't show up here, how do we know that they're not gonna deliver services?
Right.
That's,
Right.
I mean, if they don't show up, how do we know that that service that they're saying that they're gonna deliver is gonna
Yeah,
be delivered?
They need to know that it adds to the validation of their program.
All right, so, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr.
So
Held.
I understand that you're making a point, but you're making a recommendation to the city council. If you want to note their absence, fine, but I don't think this commission should be punitive. If somebody was unable to attend and contact was made with staff, it's not as if they ignored the process. The two organizations attempted to explain why they could not be here. One sent a representative, if I kept track. So, I guess it's not in my nature to be punitive in this way, and you certainly can note it for the city council and let them decide how they want to treat it.
Well, we can end the speculation of it being, or the idea of it being punitive, if in fact, before it even comes to us, that they know beforehand that in the application process, this is a recommendation to the department head, that they make it a mandatory requirement to attend the meeting. So, I mean, that's not, we are making that recommendation. We're not telling them that they need to do that. But in order for this to move forward, in the future, without having this be brought up every time, I would encourage the director to have that language in the application process so that a representative is here for that organization. Because, the next time we may not be as favorable to those organizations. But we have to,
In other words, you don't want to cut off their head.
Anything can happen. Somebody could
No,
be
I
driving
understand.
here and
Right,
get into
we
an
understand that.
accident, and who knows what.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I got you.
no, I got it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's go ahead. We've had our discussions. We've had a second on the,
Yeah, I already gave you a second.
yes.
Okay,
So
all right, so,
this will be a
Chairman-
roll call.
Yes, Chairman Ernst,
Yes, for approval.
Vice Chair McDermott.
Yes.
Commissioner Blemire,
Yes.
Commissioner Each,
Yes.
Commissioner Bob,
Yes.
and Commissioner Besson.
Yes.
We have a unanimous
Thank you very much.
passing.
Okay, that item is closed, and we will be moving on to the next item. We want to thank everyone that did come and make their presentation. I urge you to not miss the city council meeting when this is brought to them. I believe it goes to the next, Ms. Love, if you can hear me. Is this on the agenda for the next city council meeting? I think I heard you say yes.
I don't handle these through
Oh.
city council. That is directly scheduled by that department's director.
Okay.
And I
And-
believe she stated that it was going to be on their October 10th meeting next week.
Okay, very good, thank you. So that will be the date, if anyone's still in the audience that wishes to attend the city council meeting, when this item will be brought forward. Thank you all, thank you very much. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and move on, and I see that Commissioner Seyfried has joined us to finish out the evening. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Let me get my computer back up again. This is still timing out early. No, I got it. Yeah, it's 5 minutes now. Yeah, I know. Okay. All right, before I move forward, Mr. Held, I'm going to go ahead and read the item in to the record before I ask you to address the quasi-judicial
Thank you.
aspects of this next item. All right, the next item is a quasi-judicial process. I'm going to go ahead and read this into the record first, and then Mr. Held will go ahead and address the actions that will be necessary for us to move forward. So this is PC 17-78, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of North Miami approving an application for a conditional use permit in substantially the attached form for a proposed mixed-use development consisting of a 12-story, 195-unit residential building with 9,502 square feet of ground-level commercial space and 274 parking spaces on a 1.30 acre parcel of real property located at 1150 Northeast 125th Street and identified with Miami-Dade County folio number 06-2229-031-0110 in accordance with Article 3, Division 4, Sections 3-402 through 3-407, Article 4, Division 2, Section 402, Section 4-203B, Sections 4-205, and Article 4, Division 3, Section 4-303, Section 4-305, Section 4-306, and Section 4-3010 of the City of North Miami Code of Ordinances, Chapter 29, entitled Land Development Regulations, providing for an effective date for all other purposes. At this point, before I ask Mr. Held to step in, I want to ask if there's any commission members that needs to disclose any information regarding this item, whether or not they've had any conversations with the petitioner, or if the petitioner has reached out to them regarding this item.
Or third parties.
As a third, or a third party,
parties,
yes.
any citizens.
Or a third
Just
party.
Said hello to a couple of people downstairs.
Okay.
I can't, no.
Yeah. All right, but nothing was discussed about the item. Yes,
No, we
Mr.
didn't discuss it.
Mr. McDermott.
Yes, I've had people approach me.
Using your microphone? Thank you.
I've had people approach me for and against the project.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Besson? You, no? Ms. Blumer?
No.
No, myself, no. Mr. Bob? No. Okay. All right, Mr. Held, go ahead, and you have the floor,
Okay.
sir.
What follows is a summary of quasi-judicial procedures. These rules apply to applications on specific parcels of land, like zoning map amendments, special exceptions, variances, and like this, conditional use requests. The commission will sit like a court, hence the term quasi-judicial, reviewing the facts presented at the hearing, applying the adopted rules as explained by staff in the staff report and verbally. Commission members can make site visits but must disclose the evidence upon which they intend to rely from that visit. Commission members will disclose at the beginning of the hearing, as they did, whether they have had communications with individuals on behalf of the applicant or otherwise, including who the communication was with and what the topic of discussion was. All persons intending to speak to the commission will be sworn by the clerk. The staff will make a presentation, and the commission may ask questions. The applicant will make a presentation, including expert witnesses, if any, and the commission may ask questions. When the public hearing is open, the public can make comments on the application, limited to 2 minutes each. Citizen testimony must be fact-based, not opinion. Commission may ask questions, and the applicant's attorney, if any, may ask questions in the form of cross-examination. Members of the public can decline to be cross-examined. The commission will then deliberate based on the evidence presented. Commission's decision must be based on competent, substantial evidence, meaning based on the record, staff presentations, expert presentations, and fact-based comments by citizens, according to the standards for approval set forth in the City Code. The commission may then approve, deny, or continue the item. We ask each of you to treat this proceeding with respect and proper decorum, no calling out, interrupting speakers, or disrupting the proceeding. Please give this proceeding the same dignity and respect as if you were in court. Disruptions are prohibited and enforceable pursuant to the City Code. Please also silence your cell phones. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. At this time, I'll ask the Commissioner Secretary to administer the oath. For those of you who would wish to speak on this item, please stand and be noted as to your presence and the fact that you'll be speaking on this item. Please raise your right hand and follow along with the Secretary's swearing in.
Just answer in the positive. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, and you may have a seat.
I do, thank you. Okay, Ms. Love, you're with us there. Please go ahead and start your staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The IT staff is going to move my slides forward for me, so you'll hear me say next.
Okay.
What you have before you tonight is a conditional use permit for a project called NOMI 1150. It is actually located in District 2. Next. As the title states, this is a request for a conditional use permit to allocate 195 floating bonus units from the floating unit pool. It's located at, as you can see here, it's located at 1150 Northeast 125th Street. It is a little over an acre, 1.30 acres. Currently, it has a one-story, about an 8,300 square foot commercial building that was constructed in 1967. It also has a surface parking lot, and you can see it has a lot of vacant space on it. The property is zoned C3, and it is commercial office on the future land use map. It is also located within several of our overlay districts, including the Arts Overlay District, the soon-to-be dissolved NRO, the planned corridor development for 125th Street, and finally it's within the North Miami Transit Station overlay, which allows 200 feet in height and up to 150 dwelling units per acre. Next. The proposal itself is for a 12-story, 195-unit mixed-use development. They're going to have a little over 9,500 square feet of ground-level retail space at the lower level of the building, of course, and then additional 20 ground-level parking spaces. Integrated within the structure is a 2-level parking garage with 254 parking spaces. They're going to be doing 100% Florida native vegetation to help with stormwater retention and cooling and getting rid of some of that urban heat island effect that we have along that area. It's certified green building. Because it's in the Arts and Overlay District and because they're requesting a conditional use permit, they will need to complete and install public art. And of course, as with all of them, we require enhanced stormwater requirements at a minimum of 10% over the minimum that is required by Miami-Dade County. Next. The economic impact is almost 1,000 short-term direct and indirect jobs during the construction period, with an estimate of about $38 million in wages. Once the building is fully operational, they anticipate between 33 and 38 full-time employees. Ad valorem taxes is about $560,000 annually. Now, part of that will be captured by the CRA, and they will be paying a one-time $623,000 in impact fees. Next. There are conditions of approval that staff is recommending. Well, of course, this by code requires DRC review. But we are also requiring that they construct and maintain they are proposing, although they only have to do 10 feet, they're proposing a 12-foot, almost 13-foot wide sidewalk along Northeast 125th, and then the standard 6-foot wide sidewalks along Northeast 11th Court and Northeast 11th Place. All the utilities will need to be undergrounded. They're going to have to provide all of the approvals, certificate of use, business tax receipt, and the public art has to be installed or completed, whatever it is, prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy. Next. So what happens after tonight? Well, it is tentatively scheduled for the 11/14 City Council meeting. Again, as we always say, these dates are tentative. After that, assuming they get approval from City Council, they will then proceed forward to submitting a DRC site plan application and go through that review process. And then they'll come back to City Council for final site plan review. So as you all know, this will not be the last time that the public will have an opportunity to speak on the project. It's also at the City Council CUP. And then once again, when it comes back for site plan approval. And that is the end of my presentation. The applicant and the applicant's agent is, I believe the applicant is here, but their agent is here, and they do have a presentation, and they do have their team members here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Love. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you to state your name and address before you begin.
Sure. Good evening, Ethan Wasserman with Greenberg Charik, 333 Southeast 2nd Avenue, here on behalf of the applicant. We're just making sure, are you seeing the presentation yet?
Yes, now we are. There we go. Oh, that's not you?
That one's mine, sir.
I have my tech savvy.
Some assistance coming your way here.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Again, Ethan Wasserman for the record, here on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is a joint venture between Old Town Capital Partners. One of the principals is Anthony Hodes, who some of you may know, and Continua Construction Group, a Colombian developer doing some work within the city. This is just a quick overview. I'm sure most of you know where this project is located. 125th Street is a major east-west travel corridor, and it's a true mixed-use environment, which is why you'll see several overlays, as Debbie mentioned, touching on this property. From our west, you have medical or nursing home. Across the street, we have a 6-story office building, commercial uses east and west of us. And further east, of course, is the rail line and more intense uses. And south of us is low-scale residential, which is important and impacted our design of our project. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. Here you can see we're on the western edge of the North Miami Transit Station overlay. This is obviously where the city, your professional planners want to see intense urban development. It's the right area with multiple options for transit ridership. We want to encourage transit ridership. This is a map we prepared showing the different options. Farthest east, that little circle, that's where we expect the rail line to be located. North Miami, we're hoping gets 2 rail stops, 151st. 151st is kind of the shared stop with North Miami Beach and North Miami, and then this is the dedicated North Miami stop. We have what I call the trolley, but the express bus right in front of our property. There's a stop right on our boundary, as well as county transit options as well. Debbie mentioned the project has about 9,500 square feet of commercial. That starts, this property has 2 corners, which is a really important principle from a planning perspective, and staff works very hard to make sure each corner is appropriately identified and treated. So on our west, we have our commercial space that wraps all the way along the northern edge, and then as you get to the next corner, which is the corner kind of facing the transit station a couple blocks away, that's where we have our anchor residential lobby space. We have 195 residential units, and what's interesting about this diagram, and I'll show you on a different slide, is we have 2 vehicular points of entry. So we have what I'll call the residential entrance on our eastern boundary, and you can see the ramp there. That's to go up to the 2nd and 3rd floor parking garage. And then the western entrance is guest visitor spaces and loading. Loading is completely internalized in the center of the property. It's not located on the edges, so we won't have a scenario where a loading truck is on the street or a loading truck is blocking an entrance. We have appropriate maneuverability. Staff and our traffic engineers work through this, and that's what you see, that little shaded hatched mark in the center of the property. On the southwest, where you see a little bit of a shaded parking area, that's surface. There's no building there. That's just a surface lot. I'm going to explain why that's important in a minute. And obviously on the south, we have a landscaped bioswale area. From a macro level, land use and zoning development programming, we have 195 units, and we're in an area that allows 200 feet in height. But we're not doing that. We're building 120 feet in height, almost half, a little over half of what we're allowed to build. We also have 27% open space where only 20% is required. We're providing much more than required, and you'll see that in a second. It's partly driven by our setbacks. We are providing more setbacks than zoning requires on every single side of our building. The reason we have so much open space is because when we started designing this project, we recognized there is low-scale residential to our south, but we have this intense commercial mixed-use district on our north. So how do we blend the zoning to our south and our current zoning? So what you see here is we have like a tiered building, and I'll try and walk you through 3 slides. On our southeast, our building is set back 20 feet from the property line, and on our west, the building is 60 feet from the property line. We're allowed to have a 0-foot setback, but we pushed our building recognizing that we want to create this buffer. And what happens is we have an opportunity on the south to create a bioswale, a landscape feature. It's a more resilient design, and it allows for a landscape buffer between the residential uses to our south, their duplex uses to our south, and our project. As you go vertical, this is, call it the 4th floor. So we have a garage on levels 2 and 3. Here you can see, again, 20-foot setback, and here you can see it's 57 feet. It's really 60 feet. There's a 3-foot eyebrow, but 57 feet to our neighbor. That is completely open space. There's no building in that location, respecting the boundary to our south. And then as you go, as you go further north, this is our tower. We're about 80 feet on our west and 63 feet on our east, away from the neighbor to the south. So we are scaling up as we go towards 125th Street. This is just a section diagram, so you can see the ground floor is retail and resi, 2 floors of parking, amenity deck, and then our tower. In terms of unit distribution, this is a market rate product. This has about 40% of our units are 2 bedrooms, 50% ones, and the rest are studios. As you all know, before coming to this board, we go through our concurrency applications. The city routes our application through various reviews: architectural, zoning, sustainability, traffic, civil engineering, and we've worked through all of those disciplines. Debbie, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. Debbie, so in addition to what I consider a public benefit or a neighbor benefit of pushing the building north and having a bioswale and resiliency features, there are dollars going, about over $1 million in city building and impact fees. about 1,000 temporary construction jobs, and depending on the tenant mix in the retail space, we anticipate about 30 to 40 permanent jobs in the project. And of course, city ad valorem taxes to the city. In terms of the quality of architecture, we know that the skin of the building is technically part of the DRC, but it's always important to show what we intend on building. A great quality of design, different materials, different framing elements that make the building seem lighter than it is. Ground floor is all glazing, so you can see into the windows. It's supposed to be attractive for people to want to come in and, whether it's a coffee shop or a retail store, as well as our lobby. Here you can see the reverse. That's the notch out. So the southwest corner, that's just the surface parking lot and spacing filled with landscaping between the neighbors to the south. A lot of effort went into the design of this rear feature, as you can see on the amenity deck. Staff is recommending in favor of the application, which, as you all know, is substantial competent evidence for you to rely on to approve this project or to recommend approval. We have no objections. We agree with all of staff's conditions. That concludes our presentation. All of our, we have some experts here if you have questions on traffic or any other, the design features. Our architect is here as well, and I'd like to reserve some time for rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. I'm going to have the public hearing open now. Any of your experts want to speak on during that time, they can. The public hearing will be 2 minutes per speaker. So public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to address this item, please come forward. Either side, sir.
Hi. Long time no see.
Hi, how you doing?
My name is Robert Husett, resident at 1150 Northeast 123rd Street. I'm the original 1150 guys. I expect to be getting about 195 units worth of mail misdirected to my house on a daily basis. And I came here because my major concerns with the building, not having seen the presentation because I didn't get any notification, was the impact to the south neighborhood, which is where I live. A lot of it was addressed, but some areas that I would hope that the city would address with Florida Department of Highway Transportation is the egress and the ingress on those buildings. We want to try to keep as much of the traffic onto 125th Street and as little traffic going south into residential North Miami and into Biscayne Park. As it is, Northeast 12th Court, Northeast 11th Place, Northeast 11th Court are used as cut-throughs to go from wherever Aventura into Biscayne Park into Miami Shores. So it's already being used as a cut-through, and now we're getting this huge building, which is impressive, but I just want some sort of reassurance from the city that they will do their due diligence not to have parking overspill onto the streets in front of the single-family housing, that when they do the construction, that's not going to impact terribly much the low-density residential housing. And that's the only comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Good evening, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Great evening. My name is Andre Pierre. I reside at 2125 Northeast 121st Street. And I'm just here today to give my viewpoints and thoughts on the project, but also a couple of facts that I've learned about the project, which is that the building is old, as we all know, and it would be probably one of the shorter buildings around the area, considering the buildings that are across the street and the buildings that are adjacent to it. Also, looking at the project and looking at the site plans, it's very intrinsic and futuristic on how they're like designing it, because I mean they really took in consideration of the whole environment and the people that live on the south of them, but also with the transit and making sure that people that actually live there are going to be able to get rides to work and smoother means of transportation. Me being a young man and learning how to navigate in this world, I believe that a project like this would do wonders for people that are also like me. Currently, I go to college at FIU. There's a campus at BBC, which is in North Miami, and then there's another campus down in Sweetwater. And the transit would make it easier for, college students to get to places that they need to get to because, it's really hard to find methods of communications that are fast. I just want to thank everybody here for taking the time and, really taking an investment into the city. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wishing to address this? Good evening, ma'am. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Ada Duffy.
Pull your
Oh.
mic.
My name is Ada Duffy.
Hi,
I
Ada.
live at 12405 Northeast 11th Place.
Okay.
So my house is kind of like catty corner to where the building is going to be. We've lived here for over 20 years. We love this neighborhood. And my concern is also, obviously, the traffic, because we're getting more and more traffic with the other building that's being built. And I'm a little concerned about, first of all, how long would this take? How long would this building take to be built? Also about especially as Robert mentioned, about the exit and entrances on. We do have kids who live on the street too. I'm really concerned about that, how long it was going to take to finish it. Where are all the construction workers going to park during this building? And with the noise and air pollution that it is going to cause in building it, will they be working during the weekends? How much construction will go on? How long is it going to take? So those are just like some of the questions that I'm concerned about, and what kind of businesses will be filled in the commercial area. And that's, we love the neighborhood, and we do not really want to see, it impacts us in a negative way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening again, Dr. Medina.
Good evening,
And
Hector
again,
Medina.
for the record,
1270 Northeast, 124th Street.
Thank you, sir.
So this is my neighborhood. This is where I live. I go through that street to both of them every day. I go in front of that, on 120 feet of that lot. That is empty. There is no building like the staff mentioned. The building was removed. So my neighbors started calling me regarding this building last week. And they were under the impression that there was another building that is going to be put in where Spotmaster used to be, but it wasn't. And so when I went, I didn't receive any letters, and I am within the 500 limit of this mailing, and my neighbors didn't. My friend Robert that is here, he didn't receive a letter neither. So people that live 100 feet from my house to the east, they got the letter. So that's a problem. Then there is supposed to be a sign announcing this hearing today. There's no signs there. There is 2 signs that are so far away that nobody can see them, and they're blocked by a fence that is covered, by a plastic. You can see the signs from the floor if you want to have photos of it. And there's only 2 signs, and they're all the other way because the wind broke one of that green things that they put on the chain fences. So I spoke with Ms. Love, and I mentioned this to her. The last time this happened, it was moved, a month. When they have to correct this, and the neighbors need to know that there was a hearing today. And as you see, I had to, and I was very busy, so I wasn't able to go house by house. So the signs are not there, and I like to think that that was a mistake, but I don't, because the lobbyist office is in front, across the street from this place. And an experienced lobbyist knows that you have to post those signs.
You have one more point, Dr. Medina?
So
I'm
also, Chen Medical Center take all the parkings on the swell because the patients need it. So at least on the east side, there is no parking on the swell. And so people will have to go to the residential area. So we're losing families, you know, with kids, because my neighbor just came to me and he was almost asking me permission because he's moving. And he's moving because of the traffic and he has a new baby. So this is the second time I lost neighbors in the same place for the same reason, the traffic and babies. So if we don't promote family living in the city, we're just going to lose the city, and it's going to be just another extension of Miami, you know, where only rich people can live.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Dr. Medina.
and lastly, that's one ugly building that reminds me of the filter of my air conditioner. So
All right.
that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Doctor. We have any more of the audience wishing to speak?
Good afternoon. Good evening. Andre Pierre, 2125 Northeast 120 First Street in North Miami, Florida. Pleasure to see all of you. As I said, you know, more than 20 years ago, I used to serve on this board when I had hair like Commissioner Bob. Just, you know, proper notice was given. Notice were posted on the property. All of the neighbors were notified, okay? But what I'm really here to tell you is very plain and simple, and I think a lot of you may have read either the Daily Business Review or The Real Deal, okay? According to the expert in this field, okay, multifamily is the asset class developers are pressing pause on. Roughly, according to the Real Deal, okay, roughly 10,000 apartment units across Miami that should have broken ground by now are on hold. Developers Suarez, George Perez, Jerry Aguirre, Michael Wolf, Sergio Pino, Tal Levinson, and others. Jerry Aguirre said, we want to start construction, but we need to hold. The problem is, they call it the trifecta, but it's four factor because the cost of construction went up, the cost of labor went up, high interest rate, and now this year, okay, commercial carrier has hiked premium by 50%. And here's what you have going on, all right? Interest rate December 2021 was about 4%. Now we at 7.5 to 8% to borrow money to go on with the development. Now you have Ethan, including the developers that are willing to put their money forward to get development going on, okay, while most developers cannot go forward because of the, I guess they call it trifecta, but I call it the four factor. In addition to that,
Andre, time is
All right,
almost
just
up.
one
If you could
second.
wrap up.
last Friday, we had lunch with the Latin builders with 1,000 people that showed up. Gus Cabrera, okay, the president of the Latin Builders Association, he said that, you know, we seen slow down the construction. Many of our members are not so busy, okay? So I think, you know, when we have a developer that is willing to go forward with $87 million when most developers cannot go forward, I think this is the kind of development that we should go on. And I'm not even addressing some of the economic benefit that the city of North Miami will receive because I think Debbie Love did an excellent job at that. So thank you so much for
Thank you, Andre.
taking the time to listen to me.
Great. Okay, before we let you do your rebuttal, any other members of the audience wish to speak? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Watson, you now have the dais to dispute anything you heard or bring up any points.
No, I think the first two speakers, their comments were well received. We don't expect traffic to go south. We don't want them to. It's not really a pass-through. If there are opportunities or mechanisms with the city's traffic engineer to explore pork chops or other ways to prevent cars from going south, we're happy to explore that. That's not our intention. We're right on 125th. That's the goal. That's where traffic should be going. As to construction parking, the woman mentioned where are we going to have our construction crews. That's a fair point, and that's in most cities you have an MOT, a maintenance of traffic plan that gets filed with the city. We're happy to proffer that if that's not a requirement. That's something we will work through so we know how are we getting construction workers to and from the site, and that's a fair concern. And lastly, I would just say we're not depleting housing. We're building housing on this property. And that concludes my rebuttal.
Okay, very good. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open up the commission for questions. Let's begin down on the very end to Mr. Seyfried. Mr. Seyfried, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm very pleased with the project. I like the design efforts. I like the xeriscape and lead issues that have been presented. Market rate housing brings a brand new breath of fresh air into the city of North Miami. Their proximity to the train station is very positive. That particular site has been vacant for all the years that I have lived in the city, and it's time for that to be redeveloped. I wholeheartedly support this project.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Blamire? Chair recognizes Ms. Blamire.
Good evening, Mr. Wasserman. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to go over a few of the concerns that I heard and to see if there are any possibilities that before this item goes in front of the council that you would be able to meet those needs. I specifically heard about letters, and so I heard Dr. Medina stated that there was one group of people who did receive it, but then he stated that it's also in his backyard and he did not receive it. So is it possible that before the next meeting or before it goes out to council that you can assess what that parameter is, and understanding that you've already put out the resources for that, but just to ensure that there is proper notification before the council meeting, can you at least do that?
Well, what I can do is I could submit for the record our certified mailing. It has a radius map with every address listed that gets mailed notice. So if that's not part of the record, I believe we submitted that with the application. I'm happy to submit it to the clerk tonight, so it's in the record showing you exactly who received mail notice.
Okay.
And I believe that, Debbie, if I'm not mistaken, the city is is responsible for notifying the residents and not the developers. Is that correct?
No, sir.
No, sir.
What we do is we
Okay.
have a certification requirement that they produce a map, a radius map, the addresses, and staff double checks those to make sure that the address that's shown within that radius map have labels. And then it is then the company that is used, they mail them out.
Okay. So do you know?
So we do a double check to make sure that,
Right.
again,
To
the
your
radius
knowledge, was
map
there-
matches the labels
Okay.
and before they go out.
So was that process done in this case?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And what is
Yes,
the
sir.
radius?
It's a 500-foot radius, and I believe, I can't screen share unfortunately tonight. There's a glitch going on, but the radius map is from the property boundaries
have that?
out 500 feet.
Okay.
So that would cover.
Let the
You've
record,
got-
I have it here, Debbie. I'm going to show it to
Perfect.
Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Blumer.
So he in fact,
Let her look
they
at it.
in fact did meet the 500 radius.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. And then there was the mentioning that there were no signs up. There should have been signs, I guess, in the periphery of the lot to let residents and individuals know that this hearing was coming tonight.
Yeah, Debbie, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Westman.
Yeah, I think the city posts those signs. The code actually contemplates when a sign it shouldn't blow away, but if the sign gets misplaced, I'll say that's not a defect in notice. There's publication in the Daily Business Review that anybody can see, obviously, as well as mailed notice. So there's a due process protection for the city that appropriate notice has gone out. So I don't know when.
So this is on the city part, the The sign.
The sign posting is, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. We have already reached out to our sign folks to make sure that the signs are actually located outside of the fence. We typically have them put them inside the fence, but they didn't realize with the coverage, I don't think they thought about with the screen coverage. So we are sending them out to relocate them outside of the fence. We don't usually like to have that off the property, but in this case, it would have to be outside of the property boundary in order to be seen properly. And by the way, we will be sending out, or the applicant will be required to send out new notices for city council.
Okay,
as
so
well.
we just
So,
want to make sure that
yeah.
they're going to send out new notices, but the signage is also going to be up, and it's going to be visible where individuals can actually see it. And the reason I'm
That's
stating,
correct.
the
Yes,
reason
ma'am.
I'm stating this, Debbie, and I think that at times we do a disservice to the developers and the people that are bringing projects when there are things that we should do and that for one reason or another, it just falls through the cracks. So that when the person who is living, a couple of blocks away, who doesn't want the development, and then now you give them reason why they should come to a meeting and say, this is not right. These are things that we can take care of, and these are the things that we should take care of.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We, as I said, we use a sign company to do that, and after I saw the pictures, I realized they did what they normally do, is put them on the property within 5 feet of the property line, but the fence covered it. So we are going to have them I'm sending them back out to relocate the sign outside the fence. We usually don't do that for a couple of reasons. One, it could become a hazard, and two, it's off the site itself. So in this case, we need to do this. We need to go back and have them relocated because they have that green screen in front of it. So, yeah, ma'am, I do understand. Thank you for sharing that comment.
Thank you. Mr. Washman, the next, I believe one of the pointers that came forward, where will the workers park once this construction begins?
So we don't have that right now. That's, at least a year, probably 2 years out. We will have to secure off-site parking and off-site staging, or
You will secure an off-site
yes.
parking. Excellent.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then I think based on what was stated by the public, these are things that are within your capability to fix, so I wanted to point them out. Last but not least, I understand that it is going to be studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, based on market value, but you guys did not give an estimation of what you believe that would be. Do you have somewhat of an estimation of what you believe that would be?
We do. It's a projection, and I'm
Mhm.
always uncomfortable using numbers in a public forum when a lot can change over the next year or two.
Just a projection.
Yeah, I think what I saw was the 2 bedrooms are in the 3,500 range. The 1 bedrooms are 2,300 to 2,800 depending on square footage. I forget the studios. It's a little bit less than that.
Okay, so guesstimate, 2 bedrooms about 3,500, 1 bedrooms between 2,300 and 2,800.
Yeah, there's even within the twos, I should say there's it's square footage. So depending on the unit that you're renting, it'll fluctuate.
Okay, great. Just to piggyback off of that, Mr. Pierre mentioned with all of the development that is currently being halted due to lack of funding, I did read that this is going to be about an $83 million project. Will you guys be seeking funds from the CRA?
Right now, the plan is not to. The plan is to give it a go. I think all developers try to find funding sources without city dollars. But I'd be dishonest if I say we weren't keeping our options open as we get closer to closing, financial closing. There are gaps that are sometimes needed to be filled, but right now there's no intention to seek government funding.
Okay, and if at if and when you would need government funding, would you actually put aside units for workforce housing, low-income housing?
I can't commit to that. I'd have to talk to my client. What I would respond to that is, I think that's usually the expectation, is if you're seeking government. Okay, I stand corrected. We will commit to that now. If there is government funding, there will be an affordable housing component, and a workforce or income restriction component to the project. And that's usually, they go hand in hand when you sink government dollars.
And how would you estimate the number of units that would be available? You base that on the amount of the funding that would be allocated, or?
I don't,
or-
at this time, I couldn't project that. I don't know.
There must be a formula, though.
If I may,
Yes.
I'll respond, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Again, for the record, Debbie Love, Community Planning and Development. The CRA makes that determination, and it's typically 10 to 15% of the units that would be within typically 80 to 120% of median income. There is no way that they would give them funding without requiring a workforce housing component. Typically, as I said, a percentage of about 10%.
Okay.
So I just wanted to share that with you, sir.
So there is a criteria involved in it, then?
Yeah, that's common across most cities, that as you
Right.
seek CRA funds.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, so since we are here having that conversation, I heard Debbie Love say about 10%. As you probably know, that 2 bedrooms at 3,500, I would say the majority of the people who currently live here may not be able to afford that. And so it is going to be new housing for new residents. And so I think that if and when you do decide to obtain CRE funds, if you should, then we should definitely not look at 10%, but at least 15 to 20% because of the area that you're coming into. And I think that a lot of the pushback at times when developers such as yourself come in is that people feel that they're being pushed out. And it's real. It's not a figment of their imagination. So in order for you to come in and build a balanced relationship, you should find a way to give back as well. Thank you
Understood.
very much.
Thank you, Ms. Blair. Mr. McDermott, you have the floor, sir.
I think this is a really nice project. I think this is a very nice project, and I think it's a good thing for the city. Not only from the standpoint of the look of it, which sort of fits really well with a project just a few hundred yards away, but also the income that's going to come into the city, which is really, really necessary. I know we talked about the police department and how much we need additional police officers in North Miami. And it all comes down to funding. And it's through good project, it's through good managerial growth that you create the income stream that allows you to provide all the services that all the people in the city need. So we welcome, I would welcome that project for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDermott. Mr. Bob?
Yes, so to start, good presentation, all that good stuff. Just to confirm, what did you project as the studio cost, the rent?
I'd have to check. It's below the 1 bedroom, but if you allow me to give me a minute, I'll check. About anywhere from 18 to 2,300, again, square footage determining.
All right, so there's a few things just to address. So one, as you know, there's a rent crisis as far as pricing and it being affordable. 2 bedrooms at 3,500, you know, the clientele that, you know, is going to be, that's going to be geared towards, more or less does not entirely fit with the demographic of the city, right? And that's just overall, you know, 3,500 is a lot. Especially then hearing on top of that, that unless, you're seeking CRA funds, that there is no real plan to have workforce or affordable housing. So once again, you run the risk of pricing out individuals who otherwise would like to live in the city of North Miami, right? So I would say that's first. Second would be the notice to the residents. Were there any meetings held or anything like that?
We did not have a community meeting, no, but with public notice, that's my name and my information and the developer's contact information is all over it. We'd be more than happy to speak if anybody wants to meet with us before commission. We're happy to do that.
Yeah, I mean, generally, a lot of times when we have developers come in and they have their presentation, they'll tell us, they had meetings, community meetings that were held on specific dates and the notice that was provided and kind of the feedback there. It seems like there's kind of a disconnect as far as the residents receiving notice and then the lack of any meetings and having their involvement. Granted, that is what it is, but just kind of noted on my end, at least from hearing the presentation. And then when it relates to the actual project as far as length of time and then, provisions made for the increased traffic from construction workers and the like, as far as where they'll be parking, we say that'll, something will be done there, but there's no actual concrete plan in place as to what will be done. So overall, I think, it's a beautiful project, beautiful building. I just think that some of the steps leading up to this point are kind of disjointed. And then as it relates to just the pricing, I'm a little adverse to supporting it, just simply knowing that given the price of rent currently, that there's not even an allocation for affordable or workforce housing. And that's really kind of my comment there.
If I may respond?
Yeah.
So I just want to address the 2 points. One is about, the MOT or where we will park or where we will find construction parking. It's very far out right now, so it's hard to say we've secured a site or we know a site. Something could be surplus parking today and in a year it's not available. So it's more appropriate that we usually have that analysis done closer to construction permitting. So it's not that we don't have it, it's that we will have it, right? And then I would just say, on this site in particular, we're not displacing residents, we're not eliminating any affordable housing. We're building new housing stock. We recognize, there's no doubt about it, nationally there's an affordability crisis, right? And locally it's impacting severely. I will say that it is a challenge to build affordable housing. The state came out with programs, SB 102, the Live Local, that gives you density and gives you height, and we've seen very few projects applied for. I as a land use council, I have one in South Florida that's being applied for. People cannot pencil those projects out. They are very challenging to build. So we recognize that there's a need for affordable housing, and I think your comment is well received, but it is hard to make those proffers without some type of subsidy coming in.
Okay, and then the lack of meetings that have been scheduled with the residents?
We did not have a meeting. We're not required to have a meeting.
No, I know.
I recognize that. But what I can say here today publicly in a televised meeting, we're happy to meet with anyone that wants to meet with us. I think you heard some of the concern from neighbors are offset when they hear about how we've designed the building and how we've pushed it back and we're half the height we're allowed to do. So we'd be happy to meet with the neighbors and alleviate any concerns they have.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. Mr. Each, you have the floor, sir.
Now, parking in the neighborhood after the project is completed, that can be controlled by specifically designating signs for residential parking or residents that live in that neighborhood. That's done in other cities. We can do that by color code, permits, what have you. That can be mitigated. There are several areas in the city that you can park your crew at that is vacant right now, and I suspect in the years to come it will be still vacant. You're correct. You're not displacing anybody from that site. I walked it Friday. I'm quite familiar with this site. I think that building that was on there was knocked down. I like the buffer that you have between the building and the residents to the south. Now, most of those residents are duplex and quadruplexes back there on both streets, 11th Place, 11th Court. I walked the whole block, and I thought that would be definitely a great addition to the neighborhood. One of the things that I was looking at the building itself, and I know this is just in the preliminary stages, was your balconies. And I seen the metal barricades or,
Railing, yep.
okay, and I was just wondering, that's kind of like, to me, back in the 70s and the 80s. And I look at a lot of the new buildings going up, and I see glass balconies out there. And I'm just wondering, in the development stage, when you meet with the committee to design the building, if that can be looked at. To me, that's kind of like it cheapens the building. That's just my opinion. I mean, that's where I'm at with that. I was looking at how you're gonna cover the parking garage. That looks great. I like the landscaping in the back, but I just thought about the front. You see, my concern is this: you're gonna be the first big guy on the block over there to put up a building on 125th Street, and there's gonna be other people that follow you. And I would really like to see this building be a gem. You know, the word out there, well, you're coming to North Miami, we can build whatever the hell they want. No, those days are over. You know, I don't buy that. You know, I've been here 50 years. I want to see a quality project going up there. You know, in the Gables, you come back with a beautiful plan, they give you an extra 2 stories. Maybe one day we can do that in North Miami. You come back with a beautiful design, a beautiful plan, get an extra 2 stories. But in the meantime, since you guys are going to be the first big guys on the block, I'd really like you to look at the balconies. I'm not knocking the architecture or anything else, but I think, you know, it did look good. But anyway, that's up to you guys. Concerning market rate housing and so forth and so on, I often said I'd rather have, when I'm going to be redundant, I'd rather have a wealthy city helping people than a poor city helping nobody. And we need development, and there's going to be some projects that are going to be market rate, and there's other projects which are going to be workforce housing, so forth and so on. They get CRA supplements. And to that, we crossed that bridge. I mean, we need people here definitely with disposable income. I mean, and I'll tell you, I own some property, and the taxes are going through the roof. The water, sewer, and sanitation, the permits, everything is just jackpotted. And I'm trying to keep my rents as low as I can possibly do. I have a couple of widows living in a couple of my buildings. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, it's a crisis, and this is a crucial time. And for you guys to come forward now and to put up this project when the interest rates are high and the cost of doing business, I really commend you for it. And I think it's something that the city could use right now moving forward. So thank you if you look at those.
Thank you.
Mr. Pierre,
Just, yeah,
do you have
just
a comment?
quickly, Commissioner Bob, just in regard to the rent that is being charged at that building, there's 3 different apartments building right around the corner on right next to the railroad track. 2-bedroom. I mean, this is a city resident, people that live in those buildings. 2-bedroom, 2-bath is going for $3,200. 1-bedroom apartment is going for $2,350. A studio is going for $1,900. This is old building. I'm not sure if you know Mr. Elvis, you know, who's a football player. He owned that building in the corner.
Elvis Dumerville.
Elvis Dumerville, right, okay. So if you compare prices, it's roughly maybe $100, $150 ballpark, you know, more than what you have going on right now, which is 2 blocks away from that development. And the last point in regard to notice, to the community meetings, we will be having community meetings because this is not the first time up, okay? This project is gonna go through to the city council, then from there DRC, and we will be meeting with the residents. So what the attorney did, basically making sure that we meet all the requirements. We sent notices to all the residents. Some of the residents around the corner were talked to, and we are willing and more than happy to meet with them and talk to them again. So this is not the first go around, but there's a lot that we're going to need to do to make sure that the neighbors are comfortable and address whatever concerns that they may have.
If I may, so although, you know, there's a comparison to the other building, expensive is expensive, right? And so my point still stands. And respectfully, Commissioner, as you mentioned, that you would rather have a wealthy city helping people instead of a poor city, something to that effect. Two things can be true, right? You can still have development and you could still invest in the city, however, still allocate units for workforce or affordable housing. Like that, those aren't, you know, mutually exclusive. That you can still develop an effective project that is beautiful, that meets the current needs of 2023, and still also have an allotment for that demographic.
If I could interject, I know the city of Miami, I've seen several articles where some of the newer developments that are on hold, as you mentioned, do plan to do that, to provide that workforce housing within those big units that they're putting in downtown Miami. I think the World Center complex in downtown Miami, where the Legacy Hotel is going up and some of those other World Center buildings, did mention that they will make an effort, because I think all the developers are recognizing they're under the gun to provide this. They have no choice, really, because they've got to do something about it. It's a crisis. So I think that's what a lot of the members of this commission, you know, would like to get that message out to you, that that should be addressed. One of the things that I wanted to also, while I still have the floor here, Mr. Besson, I'll get to you, is the fact with the point that Mr. Each brought up with the regards to the railing. That kind of raises a red flag with me as far as just how much do you want to spend for going the extra mile to make that building a lot more appealing architecturally by instituting something other than what is very commonly used, metal railings and that type of structure or that type of material that was used in the 70s. Surely there's got to be new materials out there and more innovative ways to build a balcony and to have a type of railing that's not plain cheap aluminum that is facing the street and quite frankly looks kind of very dated. You could mistake it easily for a building that's 30 or 40 years old down the street somewhere that has that kind of railing. So I would ask that you take into consideration what Mr. Each said and looking at the cost of what that could do to enhance that aesthetically by not using that type of material.
Certainly, I think we're hearing you loud and clear on the balconies. I just want to say, glass balconies, there's an obvious cost component, but from a design aesthetic, you'll see that the garage screening element, it's a mirror, it's a continuation of screening. So that was the design intent, is the consistency, but we have to go through a design review approval, and I think that feedback is important, and we will certainly explore that further.
Because right now, it doesn't match what I liked with your grilling around the front to contrary to what you said. I like that concept that you came up with, but in no way does it, your railing doesn't compare to that.
Understood.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Besson, you have the floor.
Thank you. Tell me about the facilities for alternate than either walking or driving from that building to a job location, to a railroad corridor entrance. Do you have a bike room? Do you have bike racks? What are you putting in there for people for alternate forms of transportation to be stored? Because people can't drag their bikes all the time up and into a building.
Absolutely. Sorry, I don't have it handy. We are providing secured bicycle parking on-site. There's also motorcycle parking on-site. It's required by code as well. And I believe, Debbie can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's actually minimum maneuverability requirements in the bicycle room so that if you need to change a tire or service your bike, you have to have space to do that. So it should be on the ground floor, and let me find the exact number. Let me just confirm. Good question. I apologize. I don't have that offhand.
I'm patient. I'll go ahead and answer real quickly. There's
Name and address for the record.
sorry, it's Arturo Griego with G3. I'm the architect for the project at 975 Arthur Godfrey Road, Miami Beach, Florida. We have parking for short-term, as they call it, and for resident. The resident parking is inside the building, secured on the 3rd floor with its own private room, and it does have the securing space for it. We have 35 spaces on that level. We also have short-term, so for people who come to visit and, come to go to the store, or come to visit somebody, they can park it at 3 different points on the ground level inside of the building as well, or on the surrounding sides of the building. As Ethan mentioned, there's moped parking, there's also EV parking, and there's, as we just talked about, the bicycle parking in addition to all the cars. So that was something that was carefully thought through, the calculation of how this functions with all the different uses, the shared parking with the retail, all of that was taken into account here to kind of do the best we can these days. You don't know, maybe we don't even need half of these parking spaces by the time the building is built, but today I think it's the best estimate that we can come up with for exactly addressing those needs. So how many spaces for bikes?
For bicycles?
35, you said something?
35 for residents only, 35 parking spaces
Right.
in a parking space alone, and there's another like 15 outside of that. Depends how they count them, because the way we oriented them, we have like a bike rack that holds 4 bikes, but if you put them in a certain orientation, you can double it up, so there's 8. So that's how we oriented them, and we have them in 3 different sections, so 4 times 3 would be another 8 times 3, 24 possibly on the ground level, if they maximize it.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Yep.
Anything else? Anyone have any additional questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to
Mr.
move to
Chair.
approve the application for a conditional use permit.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to have a quick exchange with Debbie Love about the concern that has been expressed about off-site parking for construction workers.
Yes.
So Debbie, are you still there?
I am.
Hi, Debbie. So I understand from Ms. Warren that that kind of thing can be a DRC requirement, and I wanted to confirm that with you, that that kind of condition can be imposed and effective like prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Yes, sir. Typically, we look at that at the DRC process as to how you're going to stage, and then that plan is brought over into the building permit process.
Okay, so I would gather from the sentiments of the commission and also the applicant's presentation that they would not object to a specific condition being imposed for that purpose through the DRC. Right.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie.
Would that have to be?
You're
added
welcome,
to
sir.
this, would that language have to be added to this ordinance, or can that be taken care of administratively through staff? without
It sounds like staff will take care of it administratively.
All right.
Sir,
Ms. Bloomer?
we will do so because that will be a requirement of DRC.
Floor recognizes, the chair recognizes Ms. Bloomer.
Thank you. Mr. Mossman, I just have a quick question. For the commercial properties on the bottom, I think that as Commissioner Each stated, you're going to be like the best thing, right? That's coming to North Miami right now. What exactly are you looking at for the commercial spaces? Are you just going to advertise it and anyone who comes, or do you have a specific vision for the type of businesses that would be down there?
A fair question. Definitely early in the process. We ideally would hope for something that benefits the local community, something that's strong locally, benefits us and benefits the community, right? It's a more stronger tenant. It's early in the process, whether that's a coffee shop or a local retail service. It's something that we want to activate. Ms. Love will tell you that it's so important that this space is active. It's not a dormant type of facility. We want pedestrians. We want people coming. We want, if our retail is a success, then other retail is a success, right? So that's really what we're trying to achieve here. What that mix will be, the space could be a large space or it can be cut into smaller spaces. We just don't know yet until we're a little closer on.
All right, thank you so much.
Touching upon that, what would you, if you started cutting up spaces, where would you draw the line as far as right now? How many units would you project initially that you would put in there that are commercial?
I think it shows maybe four. Right now it's designed with 4 retail bays.
Right.
And so that's the current configuration.
Right.
But there's flexibility in that design. Because it's, as I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, it's wall to wall, right? So we wanted to make sure
Right.
that it was seamless going all the way around and a full activation of that ground floor.
Right. So would it be feasible to cut one of those 4 units into 2 or 3?
Ideally that's possible. In a vacuum, it's hard to say no. Sure,
Yeah.
we could slice it up as long as we have minimum sizes and
Right.
back a house operation, so to speak, that could service that type of space. Absolutely.
Okay, all right. I have no more questions. No more questions from anybody? Yeah, yes, Mr. McDermott? Yes.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the item.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to move to approve the application for a conditional use permit on item PC 17-78. I'll do a roll call on this again. Madam Secretary, if you will, please.
Chairman Ernst,
Yes.
Vice Chair McDermott,
Yes.
Commissioner Blamire,
Yes.
Commissioner Each,
Yes.
Commissioner Seyfried,
Yes.
Commissioner Bob,
No.
Commissioner Besson.
Yes.
So the item
4, 5, 6.
moves.
The item passes with a 6-1 vote.
6-1 vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, moving on to wrap up this evening's events.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to ask Debbie Love, or the attorneys, a question. There was some recent legislation just passed about developers. I think getting back to what Mr. Bob was saying about affordable housing, and I think it was if you had 60% affordable housing, there was a reduction in the property tax, if I'm not mistaken. It just came down the pike about 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Mr. Hill, are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
All right. Ms. Love, are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir. It's called the Live Local Act. That's the moniker for it. It went into effect in July 1st.
July 1st of
Ms.
this year.
Warren and I are actually preparing a white paper, and I'll be putting together a presentation for Mr. Cook to present to City Council in November about this. It is says that if you are in any, like an industrial or a commercial district or a mixed-use district that does not have typically have that those type of things don't typically have density associated with it, you can build if you have 60% of the units being affordable workforce at a certain range, affordability range, that you don't have to come before any approving body. It's done administratively. It's approved administratively by staff. And it would only work in the city if you're in industrial, C3, C1, or the C2BE, C2BEW, or any of the PDs, the mixed-use development. We have had several inquiries, but we have not had anyone yet to submit for a project under this. Typically, what we're seeing are very small developers who are doing low-scale infill development, or who are interested in doing low-scale infill development, who have inquired, but no large-scale development project at least yet.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you very much. There's another question for you from Mr. McDermott.
Yeah, Debbie? Hello,
Yes, sir.
Debbie, when we went to the housing conference a couple months back, I don't know if you saw the article that was like 3 pages long in the Miami Herald about the Live Local Act. There's an indication that they're going to be going back in this upcoming legislature to readdress some of the fierce kickback that some of the cities have had to this. So, are you aware of what's possibly coming in reference to that?
Not specifics. We do anticipate seeing coming through the legislature. I'll be following those closely as they are proffered. I understand when I was attending the Florida American Planning Conference recently that there are what they're calling glitch bills, I guess. I don't know what they are at this point, but we do anticipate seeing something come out yet. And as soon as we know something, we'll definitely be making adjustments accordingly, sir.
Just my observation is there's been a lot of talk on this, a lot of articles written, and different interpretations, and really I haven't seen any positive action on it. Mostly a lot of rhetoric, but with no action. So, and it's getting kicked back and forth between the legislature and local governments, and it's an ongoing problem, but something that we're going to be faced with as a commission that has to be brought before us, that we need to focus on and be aware of that situation. All right.
Commissioner Chair,
Yes.
I have a quick question for Ms. Love. Then during the last council meeting, I believe that there was a conversation around Miami-Dade County wanting for us to actually take care of some of our infrastructure as it relates to water plant and things of that nature before we can move forward with more development. Are you aware of that? Is that something that has come to your desk? Do you know anything about that?
I can speak in for what I understand. We completed, as part of the comp plan, we had a Public Works hired AECOM to prepare an infrastructure study that looks at water and wastewater. And you all probably remember this as part of the presentation for the comprehensive plan. We do know that when we have to bring these things online based upon population growth, and I know that the city has placed projects into the budget to deal with water and wastewater. Unfortunately, I'm not at that position where I can offer you some definitive answers that would be better coming from Public Works. So my apologies for not being able to give you more specifics.
Is it possible that next month we can have someone from Public Works to talk about that? Because I think that is extremely important. If Miami-Dade County is specifically asking for us to do something. And as a planning commission, you have projects, you have development coming before you, but then there's a specific request for upgrades. We should know what those specific requests are. We should know if there's a timeline for the city to get those requests completed, so that as we are recommending to the council or advising the council, that we are also in line with that.
Of course, we'll be more than happy to invite Public Works, like we invited Ms. Carney today to speak to you all. Just remember that each time these the pool of bonus units that we are currently working with, this was already built in a long time ago, based upon the concurrency and the availability of services. However, each individual project still has to look at the impact on water and sanitary sewer and get approval by Public Works that they do have currently there is capacity.
Okay.
So none of the projects that are coming before you are at risk as far as our understanding, because Public Works reviews them and lets us know whether or not there is adequate capacity.
Okay.
We'll be more than happy to invite Public Works to come and chat with you all. And we've made a note of that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Debbie, do you have any committee reports before we start wrapping up here?
No, sir.
Any old business?
No, sir.
And
Oh,
yes.
not old business, not old business. No, not old business, no.
Okay, so I'll move on to new business.
Just a reminder that the comprehensive plan is scheduled now. It has been moved. It was scheduled for October 26th, but it has now been moved to November 14th, City Council meeting for second reading. And we will be starting to work very shortly on the associated LDRs. So we'll have a outreach to let people know when we're starting, to provide a website, to provide opportunities for people to leave comments. We will have a very robust community engagement process with the LDRs. So we're very excited, and I just wanted to let you all know about second reading and that the LDRs will be starting work on those very soon.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, that's it. I don't see anything else. Meeting is adjourned.
9:42.
Good night.